I'm Carney-Smith and this is my 10-minute vlog in which I will go into detail about my transition from A-levels to university, and I will also go into detail about my interpersonal skills, my personal skills, self-development and knowledge. Hope you enjoy! Back in Liverpool, I went to a relatively small school, as in my year alone there was only 90 girls, so to say that we were mollycoddled and spoon-fed is an understatement to say the least. Due to this, I would say that my actual transition to university hasn't necessarily been hard, but more of a reality check in the sense that if I happen to miss a lecture or a seminar, then it's up to me and me alone to make sure that I catch up and that I understand the content that I have missed. In comparison to sixth form, teachers will come and find me to explain what has happened in the lesson and give me the missing work. Yet as much as it was nice to be spoon-fed, I'm glad that university isn't like this, but I have no choice but to gain independence and experience in what it would be like to work in a real-life work environment. I feel like besides the initial shock to the system regarding independence, I feel like I was also slightly overwhelmed in terms of how much preparation that was necessary in terms of preparing for seminars, such as the amount of reading that was needed and the continuous amount of time that had to be spent going over lecture notes. But besides these initial challenges, I would say that I have settled in well to my new life at Leeds Beckett University, and there are countless aspects that I enjoy, such as the new friends that I have made and going out and experiencing what Leeds has to offer in terms of its culture. I'm now going to analyse my skills, which I feel as though I've been able to identify during my first semester of university at Leeds Business School. In particular, by completing the personal performance factors, I was able to see in black and white the ways in which I learn best and be able to utilise this information. The personal performance factors themselves have taught me that I tend to work in a very relaxed environment, as I work best with less structure and tend to go with the flow with most things and have a relaxed approach to time compared to working to a strict timetable and working with a strict routine. Even though I do work with less structure, from experience I know that this method essentially causes stress in terms of my blasé attitude, as due to the lack of structure everything always becomes a last minute struggle in terms of completing work. Yet even though I end up stressed, I know that I work best under high amounts of pressure. This is also shown through more of the questions in the personal performance factors, with almost every one of my answers going towards a prefer high pressure column. I think continuing on from being mollycoddled at sixth form, it was understandable that I work better with more external direction, yet it is something that I am working on personally to change. There are many things that I prefer to do without external direction, such as solving new problems alone, yet on the whole I feel as though I do prefer more external direction. But again, I am looking into changing this and continuously becoming more independent. In terms of looking at how far physical factors may affect the way I work is quite a mixture. An example of this is I feel I work better if I work in a very dim light, yet on the other hand I need music or TV in the background. Both are complete opposite ends of the spectrum, suggesting that I work best with both high and low stimulus. Another thing I have found is that I am very easily distracted, which is problematic to my learning, as simple tasks can end up taking a lot longer than what they initially needed to be. Through the actual completion of the personal performance factors, there are many ways in which I found that I enjoy when learning new things. A few examples of this is, in general, I'm a very talkative and chatty person, so it's no surprise that one of my learning methods is talking through work with others or recording myself talking about the work. Not only this, but according to Honey and Mumford's questionnaire, I have identified myself as an activist type of learner, as I tend to work in flexible, spontaneous ways, also that I work from experience, discussion and team. Available for myself to learn more about my working styles, not only from the personal performance factors but also from the completion of all the Enterprising You online tasks. I've discovered that I have a very enterprising mindset and that I know what I want from life, and that I am confident enough, creative enough and disciplined enough to seize opportunities that present themselves and do something about them. It was very helpful to me. Firstly, because they have helped me actually identify my problems and give me advice on how to overcome these problems. An example of this is that I have personally identified that I tend to listen to negative opinions of others, and sometimes this can demotivate me or just make me give up on projects due to their opinions. Enterprising You was then able to give me the advice that the first thing for me to do is to actually identify the negative people in my life. By actually recognising who these people are, I can attempt to deal with them by either just straight up ignoring them or by confronting the person. Personally, I feel that the ignoring them technique works best for me, as I think if I was to confront somebody, it would most likely result in an argument, but I'm grateful that Enterprise and MiA offered me two potential solutions. Taking the paperclip challenge, I identified myself as a creative person, coming up with 12 answers compared to the average range of answers being between 5 and 10. Watching the videos made available of Tim Brown gave me a valid advice regarding creativity, that sometimes a few rules can really help you get your ideas moving. Not only this, but I found that when being creative, it's beneficial to stop, look and think. As noted earlier, I've confessed that I can be very easily distracted, so by me just taking some time just to stop, I can allow myself to just focus on the actual problem at hand. By looking, I am able to create possibilities and suggestions to overcome the problems. Also, I have found that whilst at sixth form, I tended not to use lists, but since completing this task on Enterprising You, I found that by just creating lists of what needs to be completed is of great use to me, as I can see what needs to be done and in what order these tasks need to be completed in. And finally, by actually thinking, I am able to analyse the best ideas and give them a thorough evaluation, and then be able to develop the best ideas instead of just rushing and picking the first idea that comes to mind. My role as part of a team, I found it hard to identify myself as just one specific role, as there are many aspects to each role that I feel suits my personality and tendencies. Ways that this is true is that I've identified myself as a team worker, as I can sort out problems and try to resolve any potential conflicts, but there are other aspects of team worker which just isn't me, such as that people wouldn't recognise my input. This is completely incorrect, as from many teamwork tasks that I've been a part of in seminars alone, I participate 100% and contribute fully. I'm also part of the shaper role, as the first sentence of the description is always winning your passion, which fits me to a T. Also, that I'm deeply committed to projects. Yet again, there are elements of this role which doesn't suit my personality, such as that I often offend people to pursue my goals. I see myself as a very considerate person and will always take other people's opinions into account. And finally, I believe I fit into the coordinator role, in the sense that I see myself as a confident, stable and mature, and great at recognising people's strengths, which can allow me to suggest putting the right person in the right job. But most definitely, I don't see myself as a manipulator, and by no means will I ever take credit for the team's work if everybody gave an equal contribution. Action plan was a great benefit to me, as I can actually see every day what it is that I want to achieve and what I actually need to do to achieve these goals. I've identified that one of my actual goals is to pass Marketing and Action 1. I recognise that the actions I need to take to do this is to complete all reading and revise lecture notes each week. Not only this, but I'm currently in the works of creating a study group with other people who are studying MiA 1. The requirements needed in order for me to successfully complete this goal is to set aside time out of my week to focus solely on MiA 1, as this is something that I normally wouldn't do. Instead, I'd just decide what I wanted to study that same day, but at least by constructing a timetable, I feel more obliged to stick to it by making sure I have the time available specifically set for MiA 1. The constraints that I have identified may sound like they're a novelty, but I feel that many other students might also agree with me. But by going out numerous times a week has many negatives, in terms of that it takes time the next day to fully catch up on sleep, and this time could have been spent on completing university work or revision. Yet thankfully I've identified this problem quite quickly, and I have consciously tried to reduce the amount of nights I go out. In terms of what help I could use to achieve my goal is through the peers in my seminar group, and by setting up the study group it will help me tremendously, as previously I've noted that by me talking about the work is one of my better ways to learn, as I learn best through auditory techniques. I feel this will be best for me to achieve my goal. And finally, my end date is the 13th of January 2015, which is the actual date of the MiA 1 exam, and then again around this date I'll identify another goal that I wish to achieve. So from this semester, I feel that I've been able to identify my weaknesses, and I've been able to highlight what I need to do and continue to do in order to have a successful year, such as continuing going to guest lectures and by having another goal, which is having 100% attendance in the next coming months. So thank you for watching my vlog, and I hope you enjoyed it.